4 and 5. 4 plus 5 times 3 plus 2. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is going to be very similar to the last lesson. We're going to go ahead and isolate the multiplier and work the problem out. But before I add up the final product, we're going to do a different step. So I'm going to go ahead and work through that. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So I'm going to isolate my multiplier first. I'm working with the multiplier 3. That means I need to take 4 3 times and 5 3 times. So here I've taken 4 3 times, 1, 2, 3, which is just another way of saying 4 times 3. Then I'm going to take 5 times 3, or take 5 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then put the answer down here, the quantity down here. So 4 times 3 is 12. And 5 times 3 is 15. Any questions? All right. And then I'm going to move ahead and go to the next step. I'm just going to move this up to make sure we have enough space. Okay. So I'm finished with this multiplier. And now I've moved on to the next multiplier, which is 2. That means I need to take 4 2 times and 5 2 times. 4 1 times, 4 2 times, and then 5 2 times. 5 1 times, 5 2 times. And then the answer goes beneath. So 4 times 2 is 8. And 5 times 2 is 10. Now the next part is going to be a little bit different, because we want to start showing the children how to move toward writing this on paper. But they're not quite there yet. And maybe some of them are, but for this specific lesson, we're assuming that they're not yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we did and put it out in number cards. And if you missed at the beginning of the video, there are 2 types of cards that we have here. Let me see if I can show you. Okay. So I have a white card and a gray card. And on the video, the color difference is very subtle. But the white card represents the multiplican, which is the quantity that we're going to take. And the gray card represents the multiplier, which is how many times you take something. And the reason why this is important is because later on, when this starts to get really messy, the children can correlate, see, okay, this number represents the multiplican and this number represents the multiplier, and it helps them to organize it in their mind and concretely. So the first thing we did was we took 4 3 times. So I'm going to put that in the cards here. We did 4 times 3. And then we took 5 3 times. 5 times 3. And when I add that together, that gives me 10, 20, 5 plus 2 is 7, 27. 2 and 7. Following me so far? And then I took 4 2 times. And I took 5 2 times. And that gave me 18. Okay. Now I have this partial product here and this partial product here, and I can go ahead and add them together to get my final answer. And if I don't know what that looks like, I can just put them together like this. So I took all the 10s together. I know that 8 plus 2 is another 10. And I have a 5 here. So my answer is 45. And that's the very next lesson, which is introducing the cards. It's called Introducing Cards and Signs. And then that takes us to our next lesson, which is the next step in abstraction, which is called laying out the sum. Do you have any questions, or would you like to see another example before I move on? Laying out the sums, we're not going to use the beads in the way that we've been using them. We're going to use mostly the cards. And I'm going to do the same problem so that you can see some consistency. First, collect all of my signs. So I used to teach at Butler Montessori. I was the lower elementary guide there for 5 years. I actually interned at Butler Montessori when I was doing my training to become an AMI lower elementary guide, and actually just an AMI guide, because when you get your certification, your diploma, you're actually getting a diploma for the whole elementary, which is grade 1 through 6. And I was placed at Butler Montessori for one of my internships. And since I drove on to Butler Montessori, I just fell in love with the campus and with the staff. And then they hired me for the very next year to teach their lower elementary. And at that time, Miss Wilson was teaching lower elementary, and she moved on to teach upper elementary, which is what she's still doing today. And just this past summer, I took on the role of the admissions director. So if you are interested in seeing how our school is right now, we are offering virtual tours. And I'd love to show you what our school looks like and what our campus looks like. So right now we're going to do 4 and 5 times 3 plus 2, which is the same problem we just did, but this time we're going to do it with just cards. All right. So now I have 4 plus 5, and I want to take it 3 plus 2 times. This time we are not working with the beads. We're working with just the cards. We've done this problem before, and we know what to do. The first thing that we need to do is we need to take 4 plus 5 3 times. And I'm going to isolate our multiplier to help us remember that we're working with just the 3. First, I'll take 4 plus 5 3 times. That looks like this. 4 times 3. And I'm going to put that in a parentheses to show that those two go together. And next, I'm going to add in 5 times 3. And close that parenthesis up to show that those numbers came together. Next thing, I'm finished with the 4 and 5 taken 3 times. I'm finished with this multiplier. I'm going to go to the next multiplier and take everything 2 times now. And I want to know what that's going to equal all together when we're finished. So I need to add in another addition sign. I'm going to add 4 taken 2 times. And then lastly, 5 taken 2 times. Can't forget my parentheses, show that they came together. Now, let's see. We can still use the beads to help us remember or count how much everything is. Well, first we took 4 taken 3 times, and that's 12. And then we took 5 taken 3 times, and that's 15. I want to show you something else that you could do if the children are not yet familiar with their multiplication facts. I'm going to move everything down really quick. If they're not yet familiar with their multiplication facts, they can still take everything out and get to this step. So let me show you what that would look like. So instead of, if they don't know 4 times 3 is 12, they can go ahead and take out 4 times 3. This is absolutely okay. And in real life, I would have a really long rug, and this would continue on one line. So here I have 4 taken 3 times, which is 12. And here I have 5 taken 3 times, which is 15. I can do it like this. Or I can do it this way. Just depends on where the children are at. And then I took 4 times 2, which is 8. And here I've taken 5 times 2, which is 10. Go ahead and make that number down here. Can you still see what's going on? And then we would total it all up. 12 here. And to add that all up, 12 plus 15 plus 10 plus 8. I know that 8 plus 2 is 10. And so my answer is 45. I can also pull these together. Move these out of the way. And show them the next step of just putting the numbers together. So maybe they already know their multiplication facts and they don't need the cards. They can go ahead and do 12 plus 15 plus 8 plus 10, which equals 45. And that's 3 quick lessons of multiplying a sum by a sum, taking you through abstraction, first using mostly beads, then adding in more cards, and then using only cards in the problem. Thank you so much for watching today. If you have any questions or you'd like to see another example of any of those lessons that I've given today, let me know. Thank you. Thank you. If you liked what you saw, you can go ahead and do some hearts and some thumbs up. I'll be back on Thursday and at 5 p.m. to show you the next lesson in this series. And then if you have any questions, you can always type them in the comments below. And when I see them, I will answer for you, or you can always email me if you don't want it to be public. My email is kelly@butlerschool.org. And I'm also available to give, thanks, Nikki. I'm also available to give you a virtual tour. You can schedule them right on Facebook. There's a little button under our banner that says book now, and that will take you to a website to pick a time that works best for you and your family. And I look forward to seeing you all here next week at 5 on Thursday for the next lesson in Exploring Montessori Math. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to finish what I am saying, because I think there's a little bit of a lag before I sign off, just to see if there's any questions while I clean up. Today we use some number cards. We use beads. The next step with this, the children can write on paper, on graph paper, which they would just write it the same way, which I've shown here. All right, well, it looks like there's no questions. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Bye, everyone.